So I'm going to show you how I run it, and then what you need to do to modify how I run it. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new instance. I've been testing this stuff on a Ubuntu 2004 instance. So any Ubuntu 2004. The installation of Go is different on earlier operating systems. It's not until Go version 1.8 that Go path is defaulted. So there's an error that I came across if you did an earlier version. So what I'll just do is I'll create the claat, and then I'll put it in US list 1. We can use that. So basically here, I'm just gonna use Ubuntu, and then I am going to select the latest, and then we'll see if I can get the HTTP stuff to work. But all right, so we'll just create this.
Okay.
And it'll just take a couple minutes. So there's two things here. Well, there's here. Let me go through this script. So the first thing you do is install Go, because the claat tool that takes the Google Doc and puts it into HTML, that's written in Go. So I need to install Go first. NPM is needed for the site tool because build that landing page, it's all done with Node and NPM packages. And in particular, in order to create that packaged web distribution that's really optimized, it uses something called Gulp. So this is why I have to install NPM, because then I need NPM to install Gulp on the line. And then I use make, because I'm an old school C person. This is not particularly necessary, but you'll see when I distribute my stuff, I just have a make file, and it's an awful make file. I'm almost don't want to show this to people that I'm not really using make, because I have no way of detecting whether a Google Doc has changed or not. I basically remake everything, like defeats the purpose. But I like being make. And then the one thing is to get the actual tools. This is the way. This is like install for Python or npm install for JavaScript. The way to do this with Go is to just go get basically this is the GitHub location for the tool claat. And claat comes with both Codelabs as a thing, that binary, as well as the site landing tools. So it's all in one. But one of the things is I've really customized the site landing stuff. I basically have my own copy of it, which is what I put up in that repo. And so I'll show you that I'm bypassing that part of this. So then the next thing I need to do is I need to put Go in my path. This is basically putting it at the end of my profile file and then just picking it up. Okay, and then this is cloning my specific setup. Obviously, you would have your own. You wouldn't have to do this, but you can copy the files to begin with if necessary. And then within my distribution of the tools, I have to install the npm install to get everything. Some other packages that it needs. So this is because I'm running my own stuff internally that I have to do this. Okay. So that's what I have there. So yeah, just SSH into here. And oh wait, you're not going to be able to see that. I would need a new share, so I will share out this thing. All right, so this is my new operating system, and I have to do a sudo on. I have to do a sudo app update -y first. I need to change that. Okay, and then I can do a sudo and install all the tools. That was Golang, npm, and make. Guys, takes a little while.
Oh, no worries. I know you're helping us a lot because we kind of took a look at it and it was like, okay, we're not really sure.
Yeah, I figured that might have blown you up, so I was like, you know what? Yeah, this is good that you touched base with me because yeah, I don't want you to spend time on this thing. I took a ton of time to spend on this thing, and it's not fun time to spend, and it's not very useful. So yeah, I'm happy to. In fact, this is going to take a while. Okay, so that took a level. Where do we? Okay, we just installed Go, Npm, and Make. So now this is for the site tool. So claat is already installed, and we can build the Codelabs with claat. In order to distribute the site landing page, they use this whole thing with Gulp. That's what I'm going to do next. Install it globally. So you have to do a sudo, say you want to install it globally, and then you just need the Gulp CLI. And that's just, this is a really old school web packaging system. I don't think they're ever going to upgrade it though. It works for what this thing does. It works.
Okay.
And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get claat installed. And so you just go get this thing. And one of the things when you install Go and you start installing packages with Go, by default, all of the programs that you install are in your home directory /Go. Like that's like the default place that it finds this stuff in your home directory. This is going to install, if you do an ls here, you see this Go directory is here. And if I do ls of go/source, you see github.com. And if I do ls go/bin, you can see claat has been installed. Now, this is the binary that will take your Google Doc and generate a website, a single HTML page for each Google Doc. And so if you do claat export, and then you have whatever the Google Doc ID is, that's basically, you need a path to claat in order for this command to work. That's what I'm doing next. I'm putting it in my profile, which is this. Well, hang on, I'm going to copy and paste it. And this is the commands I'm running will be in the README file of that repo. I'm just going to say if this thing exists, put it in my path, and then I'm going to source the file, and then I have claat in my path. So this is just a Go specific thing. That's all you need for Go. That's it. Right now we have the claat command. We don't need to deal with Go anymore. And then what I'll do is I'll clone that repository that I shared out with you. And this is in the home directory. So now I'm assuming this Git repo is in your home directory. So that's like hard coded now in what I've given you. And then I'll go into it. And so here is the tool. So this is my copy of the claat tools directory. And I've done things like modified some of the icons and the categories to have custom little icon things. And then in labs is where I have just a single make file that's got a listing of all of my Codelabs and the Google Doc IDs for each Codelab. Now, as part of, so basically when I click make, all of the labs are built in this labs directory. And that's what I have here. So you can, I have a bunch of targets for each one of these sites that I run. But you can see all the claat exports that are here. Well, you can't really see it.
I can see them okay.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, that definitely helps.
A little better at least. And so you can see I actually enumerated them because this is a claat ID. So then what I can do is I can just take, I'll just take one of these sub-targets. So I'll do the malware one, MW1. And then because these are Google Docs and this tool is going into your Google Docs to get the stuff, you must log in. So this is done with OAuth. And so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to click on this thing, and then it's going to show me, and let me share what it shows me. It'll send you to it'll send you this thing and I say, hey, you know, I want to authenticate here. And then this is the code. I'll copy that code and then I'll bring it back into this thing and then paste it in. And then this will allow the claat tool to authenticate with Google Docs to pull all of these code labs that I'm building. And these are all permissioned under my pdx.edu account. So that's what that does. And then, and you can see it's doing these claat exports based on these Google Docs, and it's basically exporting it into HTML. So I have 4 code labs under this target. And you can see when I do an ls, these show up in this directory. So I want to put it in /labs. That's where my my storage is going to be. So when I put this on my website, I have to point the website stuff over to here. Or when I distribute it, I have to say, you know, the CodeLab sites, the individual labs are placed in this directory, and every single lab on my site will have a directory in this subdirectory. It'll eventually get packaged up in rsync somewhere else, but this is the build area for each of the code labs. And if you go into each one of these things, you'll see, oh, it's just a single index file. And then all of the embedded images in that code lab are here. So, well, there's nothing in that one. Actually, I don't think there. Oh, there's a bunch of images because I had a bunch of images in that Google Doc. So there are a bunch of images there. And this is the actual code lab that you will see when you go to this code lab, and all of the different steps, they're all embedded in this one document. And that's how you can get the really nice interface for this. Okay, so that is building code labs. The other thing that you want to do is build the landing page, and that's what we need. So if you see, I have my own copy of the tools landing page. And here you can see the site directory. And in the site directory, there is an app directory. And app/views is the directory. And this is where the individual landing sites are for codelabs.cs.pdx.edu. And you can kind of notice this. Each one of these things, when you go into the CodeLabs site, has a configuration. Show you. In fact, yeah, since this is being, let me share out this thing that I'm doing. So you can see there are these 5 things, and you know, the CS410B was one of them. CS411 was one of them. And then the internet one, CS430 was one of them. And those are views onto CodeLabs. Now, every one of these code labs has a tag associated with it that allows you to say, use it for this view. And so my labels are basically the course number. And if you go, like if I go to this one and I click on report a mistake, which is going to bring me to the Google Doc, I know that this one is going to be for CS430, so I basically tag it. And then this allows you to select, well, which code labs go for which landing page. That's what is. That report a mistake link is actually this feedback link. So that's why I always point the code lab back to the Google Doc, but people can report mistakes. These categories, this thing implements. If you go back to the main landing page, you can filter the code labs for a site using those categories, and that it's basically those category labels. So here's all the networking ones if you wanted to, and that's basically what that particular these tags are for. And then the summary is what shows up on this. So this is the ARP one. So that's the text that shows up there. is part of the Google Doc. And so all of these are these are formatted very specifically. So all you would need to is like a copy of this Google Doc and then just fill it in for yourself. Go back to this thing. So then what you have is, well, how do I build that landing page? So I'm going to go to the one I've been using, PS430. And then you can see some individual assets here. You can see a JSON file, and then you can see a version of the landing page. Now, we use typically a template and then just say, you know what, if you look at this index.html, it's kind of a templated thing. You see all of this stuff, it's all like template stuff in it. So you basically don't want to edit this thing directly. Instead, what you want to do is the template gets filled in using this view.json. And so this is how I can say, this is the title that I want you to present on that index.html. This is the description, the tags. So this tells you, these are the tags from the labs directory that I want to include in this particular landing page. There's a logo URL, which is why I have that image in this directory. Those sorts of things. And these are the things that get filled into that index.html template, produce the result. And then if you go back to that page, it's pretty obvious how they show up. All right. The thing that I have changed in the styles, in app styles, I have this. I've only changed this file, the categories, because I have things like Viper and this is for the blockchain class. I have like Viper and Solidity icons. I kind of want to make it nice. I don't want to use all of Google's assets. In fact, I do have some AWS labs, and they definitely weren't going to have an AWS logo in their site tools. So I added it, and this is why you have. That's why I have a separate thing. I surely wasn't going to pull request to get my assets merged in there, and they say, "What's this AWS logo in here for?" So that's why I have my own. And so you can see something like, yeah, you see it right there. I have an SVG, an AWS SVG, and all these other. So this is where my customizations are located. And then the actual images. So I do have like icons. So this is where like the Viper icon is, and there's an AWS one. And that sort of thing. And that's actually the only the views, and then these categories with those icons. That's pretty much the only modification I have made to their system distribution. Now, if you want to use their direct tools distribution, you can point the thing to. So I mentioned Go, Source, GitHub, Google Codelabs, Tools. So this is the system directory. So so basically when you do a go get and you get the claat, you actually do get the site tools, and the default directory for the site tools is right here underneath this directory. And this is where Gulp will default looking for the assets in this directory. So you could, if you didn't want to use mine, you could use the system tools to get access to that. But it's not what I have right now. I just wanted to show you. I just wanted to show that to you. Okay, so I am here now. I have my labs set up. So I have this. Look at this make file. I have all of these individual code labs that I build, and I also have a target called Lab Index. And Lab Index builds the landing pages. And for me, it builds all of them. Like doesn't build one, it builds all of them. And I've done this as a shell script. You'll see why I've done this as a shell script. This probably isn't the way to do it, but that's the way I've done it. You see, I basically point the path to the, I guess I might not need this. I should have actually, I can point this either to the one that this is the system default, or I can point it to my own version of this where I did the npm install. So it just needs npm. It needs the node modules for Gulp installed. I think I actually installed it on mine, but I'm using the system. But whatever. The thing that you need to do for this script is I have a home directory or a default directory for where my Codelabs are located, and that's where I git clone. This is where this thing is hard coded to. You have to do the git clone in your home directory. Is what that thing is. And then I can just run Gulp, and the Gulp file is, there's some configuration in the Gulp file. I don't think I changed this much. But then you have to specify where your Codelabs are located. And so this is where I did the clone, and then in the labs directory is where I built all of the individual Codelabs. And then the namespace. So when you do a distribution onto the web, this is the relative path from the top of your website. And so I want this to show up at /labs. But this means that the landing page where the index.html for the landing pages are has to be in, sort of at the upper level, the one right above it, I think. And then what I do is once I do this build, the actual assets are going to be located here. So in that tools site list, that's where I have all of the, I guess, all of the assets for the for building this stuff is there. And the reason why it's there is if you go into the labs directory, you can see this symbolic link views. And this is the symlink back to the site tools that I'm using. So if you go back here, you can see the views is pointing to my tool site app views. So when I do this build and I build the lab index, it's actually just going to go into it and install it right in here. I think 492. Oh, I haven't run it yet. Sorry. So that's what it's going to do. I'm going to do this Gulp list, and it's going to export all of those Codelabs to a single directory. And then once they're made, I'm going to rsync tool site list into wherever my location is for my web server to serve those assets. Now, this actually could be, instead of doing this rsync, you could do a commit, add, and push onto a GitHub page. Because these are all static assets at this point. In this directory, it's basically all static HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. And then because I'm distributing this locally on my local web server, on that machine that I'm building this on, I basically rsync it into the web server's directory where I'm going to serve it from. So let me build the lab index. So I can do, well, I already built that, so I can do build the lab index. Okay, and then I need to make sure that this is typically where web servers like to serve files from, but I don't think I've installed the web server on this virtual machine. No, I'm not going to be. All right, well, I'd have to install it, but let me just all right, so let me build this again. Oh. Oh, I forgot to install the I forgot to install the packages. So now I need to go into the site. And then this is where the npm packages for Gulp get installed. So this is where I need to do an npm install. And you see all the stuff that Gulp needs. So it just needs a working version of Gulp somewhere. So I just decided I'll just put it in the place where I'm building all this stuff locally. Now I can go back, and then I can do the make lab index. And this is where it's building it and packaging things up. And then you'll see Gulp has different kinds of targets that you can make. You can do a make build, and it doesn't completely optimize the thing. Or you can do a make dist, which really like compresses the heck out of your JavaScript and your CSS and that kind of stuff. So if you do a make build, a Gulp build, it allows you to debug any issues with JavaScript or CSS that you might have. But if you do a Gulp dist, good luck with that. Like that you won't be able to do. So then this thing is building. Then in that build index script, I actually rsync this over var dub HTML, and then I would be able to hopefully point the web browser to it. And you can see here, all of these things are now built. And they came from this directory. So it gets built here. This is my my staging area, and then I just rsync it over. If this were part of a GitHub repo and you wanted to host it on GitHub Pages, then you would upload this. I think GitHub's got some limits for the. I don't know how big this is, but yeah, hosting a page might be. I don't know whether or not this will fit under their free category. So then I don't know if I can just get this to run. We'll see if I can serve this with Nginx. I haven't tested this, so this might not work. I'll end the recording here if it doesn't work, but it should work. That works. Okay. And then what I would do is go back to the web browser and then see if the external IP address, and then so you can see that has, well, I didn't put any Codelabs in there for, I think I only did the cloud malware one. 492 has the only, yeah, and then you can see it all here. So, all right, end to end. Hopefully that helps.
Yes, that helped a lot. I'm sure that would have been a little more painful had we just tried to dig into it ourselves. So I'm sure